Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Collecting Comics, the show where we talk about comic books and how to collect them. My name's Sean, and today we're going to take a look at my comic book collection that I currently have on display. Now, if you're listening to this only on audio, please consider going to YouTube and checking out the video so that you get to see all these books live and in person. So my comic book room is actually our master bedroom now because recently my wife and I had another baby and my collecting room turned into the new nursery. So she's been nice enough to let me put my collection or a portion of it into our master bedroom. And that's what we're going to go over today. My comic books are about 2,000 issues that I have, and I have some figures on display that that you'll be able to see. And then I also have some figures that are in storage that you'll be able to see. But we're going to mainly keep this on the comic books. After we're done checking out the collection, I'll pull out some books for us to talk about. So let's look at my collection. Okay, everyone. So here's my collection. I thought I might show you my figures first, and then we can get into all these comic books that are over here. As you can see, I'm in our master bedroom, and that's because I no longer have a collection room because we had a second child, and now that's his nursery. So a lot of my collection is put up. This is some of the stuff that my wife was nice enough for me to let display in our room. So thank you, Christina. So here's my final battle charge of in-game right here. Some figures are out of place. I still need to get a couple more figures and some more SH Figuarts. That's a SH Figuarts rescue that Zach had talked about on an earlier episode of helping me find for the deal with the first Miles Morales. There's my Falcon. That Groot actually came with a 2-pack with Thor. And then there's my Hot Toy Baby Groot. That Iron Man right there was once Zach's, and I picked that up from him, so I really appreciate that. That was my first Iron Man hot toy right there. That was a really nice one, and I can't wait to get my next one that comes, the Iron Patriot, which comes out later this year. Some more Marvel Legends. On this one, we got some of my favorite pops, and a lot of this just rotates. I have a lot more that I'll show you, and I got another closet full of figures and things like that, but have my comic book Guardians right here with Thanos on his throne. My Iron Man section, and I got to get some new batteries for those lights because they died on me. There's a Mezco Iron Man right there, and then the one in the back is just a statue. My small Mandalorian collection. And then I'm a huge fan of small soldiers, and we're missing one right now. I have a flat chew, but my son found him one day and I had to hide him for a little bit. So there's my small soldier stuff. Still looking for a few more of those Gorgonites though. Here's some more comics that we're going to talk about in a second. Some more figures. Marvel Legends, SH Figuarts, Thanos right there. If anybody could let me know how to maybe to get that extra arm that they do customs of without the gauntlet and the more accurate double blade, let me know because I really am interested in that. And then you can just see more Marvel Legends and some selects in there, and my Black Order right there with the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Some of my 90s nostalgia right here with the Venom and the Buzz Lightyear and Power Ranger stuff. Street Shark right there. But you guys are here for comics, so let's talk comics. So I have a little over 2,000 comic books, and these are those BCW black bins that I was talking to you about, the storage bins. And it's cool because they actually fit the old school trading cards that they had back in the 90s, and then that's just a little top loader that it's inside. So let's see what this first box has for us. Age of Ultron, you can see the absolute carnage there. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Annihilation, some Assassin's Creed, and I really like just using poster board for my dividers instead of buying the dividers. It's a lot cheaper, and it also saves you a little bit of space. And we'll just go through these top ones. Black Vortex was a really important storyline in the Guardians of the Galaxy run. A little bit of Batman. Book of Death. Thought that was my son trying to get in. My Civil War set right here. So remember I talked about that in that first episode. I went back and bought the individual issues eventually. This is one of my favorite covers from Marvel, though. One of my favorite scenes from the Civil War movie, too. And hope to pick up a couple of figures one day that are be a lot nicer to pose with this. And then Civil War 2. Not as important, but some crazy deaths of and appearances of certain superheroes and stuff. I liked it. It was a good read. A lot of people didn't like it, but I really enjoyed it. Ghost Rider, Groot, big Guardians of the Galaxy fan again. And there's only a couple of Guardians books in this section. And that's because I actually have separated my Guardians of the Galaxy books that are that fall in the volumes into a different box, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you can still see some other stuff here. Immortal Hulk, which I got rid of. I think I only have only a couple issues left of those of the titles that I liked. Infamous Iron Man back there. And the nice thing about this, it has the locks on it too, so you can do some pretty crazy stuff with these bins. Marvel Comics, Marvel Tales, Annotated, New Avengers, Rocket, Rugrats. That was a fun series. Secret Empire was one of my favorite series too. It's where you get Hydra Cap. If you want to read more on that, you should definitely pick up this series. Secret Invasion, a classic right there. Wouldn't be surprised if they did something with in the MCU on this one. Some Silver Surfer, Star-Lord. Now this box is where I kind of go away from doing alphabetical. My two big collections are the first volume of Iron Man, which is this box right here. It's actually this box and the box right here are all from Iron Man Volume 1. And then there's some of the newer stuff that came out after that in some of the other boxes. But Iron Man number 2 right there. I do have an Iron Man number 1, and we're going to look at that in a second. But that whole box, both of these boxes actually, right here, are all Iron Man. Here's some of that newer Iron Man that I was talking about. And I am working on completing the entire run of Iron Man up to current. And you can see Iron Man 2020, which is about as current as we get. They did announce another Iron Man series coming out, so I'll be getting that soon. And then same in that box down there. That's also all Iron Man. And this box is my Guardians of the Galaxy. So this is the other thing I'm doing the entire run on. So this right here is a reprint of the first appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And what Marvel likes to do, and what they've been doing recently, is coming out with variants of older books that are hard to attain. One, maybe because there's just not that many of them, it was a short print, or two, this one's probably more accurate, is that some of these books are just so hard to find now, or so expensive, that they're giving you a chance to at least own some form of the book. And then it goes into that first solo title of Guardians of the Galaxy. I do have their Marvel Presents, I think it is, or Premieres. I'll have to look at it in a second, but this is where they have their first solo title. Goes into volume 2 right here. I have the number 1, I'll show you that. And then volume 3, that was one of my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy stories. That whole run was really good. All the way up to the current stuff. So let's look at the good stuff now. So this is my CGC bin that I have. We're going to take this one out. We're going to talk about this one. Demon in the Bottle. And that's signed by Stan the Man Lee. We're going to take this one out as well. First appearance of Raccoon. In comic books, I should say. We'll talk about that in a second too. My Iron Man number 1. My Thanos number 1. And then the last thing we're going to take out of here is this Satana book, which is the first appearance of Rocky Raccoon. So if that sounds familiar, but just so you can see the rest: Thanos 13, first Cosmic Ghost Rider; Silver Surfer 44, that's the first appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet; Alias number 1, that's signed by Brian Michael Bendis, and that's the first appearance of Jessica Jones. Warlock, first appearance of Adam Warlock, where he actually gets his name, Adam Warlock. But I do have the first appearance of him, though. First appearance of Super Skrull. Eternals number 1. Got that graded recently, maybe about a year ago now. It's going to be a really important book. It's gone down a little bit recently, but I actually have the entire run of the first volume of the Eternals. And then this box right here is all stuff that I've not gotten graded, but they're still important books, or they're still old books. So you got some Captain Marvel, some Giant Size Defenders, Marvel Premiere, and this is some Adam Warlock stuff. Yeah, Marvel Presents right there. So that's where Guardians got their first really good ongoing title before they got their own Guardians of the Galaxy title. Some Secret Wars. Tales of Suspense. This is the has a Grey Gargoyle appearance. Adam Warlock's ongoing title. That was his first ongoing title. Here is a raw issue of the first appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet. This is one of my favorite books. I have, I think, 3 of them now. This is the second appearance of Groot. The first appearance of Groot, I think, is Astonishing Tales number 13. It's super expensive, super hard to find in any condition. So I am a huge Groot fan, and I decided to pick up as many of these as I could. That's the second appearance of Groot. This was the A Moment in Silence issue for 9/11. That's the first appearance of the Black Order. This is the variant of the first appearance of Rescue. I do have the regular one too. This was the first appearance of Corvus Glaive, so also could be considered first appearance of the Black Order as well. It's where they first kind of got introduced. This came out first before that other Marvel book. A blank cover, it's a variant, and we'll talk about variants in another episode, but basically what you do with these is you get an artist to draw something for you. Connecting cover, that connects to that one, and then there's the Thor, that connects to that. Let's see here. Pit had Thanos on the cover, so I picked it up. I have a second issue of the first appearance of Rescue, the variant. This is the first appearance of Carnage. This is the first appearance of a couple of the Eternals and Celestials. Same with this one. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. This is the issue number 1 of the new Guardians of the Galaxy. So they came out in Annihilation Conquest number 6, which I still haven't gotten that book. But this is their first ongoing, and this is where you start getting Star-Lord and Drax, Gamora, Rocket, Groot, along with a few others like Adam Warlock. Thanos Quest, another great book about Thanos and his basically his quest of finding the Infinity Stones for the first time. Book 2. It's only a 2-issue series. Another first appearance of Groot. Immortal Hulk. This is the first appearance of the one below all. The one above all is in an older style book. This is the first appearance of Ronin. Here's that main cover issue of the first Rescue. So you could see how the art's different. The other one had the Iron Man helmet on. This one just has his face. This is when you find out who Ronin actually is. Have a couple issues of that. First appearance of the Immortal Hulk. TMNT. This was the first appearance of one of their newer characters that became a turtle. I really didn't follow it, but I had a friend told me I should pick it up. Starhawk. Defenders. It had the Guardians in it. That's why. The original Guardian team. Another one of First Black Order. This is the first appearance of Luke Cage, Heroes for Hire number 1. First appearance of War Machine. I actually have a couple of those as well. This is a sketch that one of my friends did for me at Alamo City Comic Con. I told him I wanted to see an Iron Man suit with that Deadpool stole, and that's what he came up with. So thank you, Rocky. There's his last name too right there. Another Thanos cover. Here's another variant. This variant was by Alex Ross. And when we talk about variants, we'll talk about the different types of variants. And this falls under that category of a retailer exclusive. And then this is just some more Eternal stuff. The rest of the series that I told you I had. This is the death of Adam Warlock, I believe. For a second appearance of Black Panther, but the first appearance of Claw. First appearance of Nova. First appearance of Ronin. This is a first appearance of some Infinity Stones. Issue number 1 of Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a reprint of the first appearance of Groot. He did not come out in Where Monsters Dwell, but that's what they named this book, just to give you an opportunity to have a reprint of it. Again, some of these books are just super hard to attain now. Another first appearance of War Machine. Second appearance of Iron Fist. First appearance of the black suit Spider-Man before he was named Venom. First number 1 issue of Submariner. So not his first appearance, but his first ongoing title. This is the first appearance of Magus, which is the alter ego of what Adam Warlock turns out to be eventually. First appearance of Whiplash. And I think that's... Oh, here's one. She-Hulk. First appearance of She-Hulk. Another Thanos Quest. Invaders. First Union Jack. This is the first and should be second appearance, I think. Right here. The first and second appearance of the Living Tribunal. The book that we skipped was Infinity War number 1. Infinity Gauntlet. And then another issue number 1 of Guardians of the Galaxy. And this one I actually found at Trader's Village. It was all rolled up. It was in really bad shape, and I actually got it pressed out, and it turned out to be really good. But that's my collection that I have displayed. I have a whole nother closet full of stuff, more books, more figures, and stuff like that. But we're going to go ahead and talk about this lot here in a minute. Okay, so I pulled out 5 books for us to talk about. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about when it came out, why it's important, and why it's important to me. So our first book that we have is Marvel's Preview Satana, issue number 7. It came out in September of 1976. And the reason why this is important is because it's the first appearance of Rocky Raccoon. And that name might sound familiar to you, and that's because Rocky Raccoon is actually the nickname for Rocket Raccoon. And he came out in a backup feature called The Sword in the Star. And basically it just tells about how the main character in this particular story, because it was a magazine, there was a couple different stories in there, but it talks about how Rocky Raccoon helps him and helps defeat the villain. A lot of times what artists or writers will do when they create a character is if they're not too sure about how the character will do, they'll put them in a smaller book or a bigger book, a book that has a really well-known character, throw him in there and see how he does with fans. And if it turns out he does really well, a lot of times what will happen is they'll get their own number 1 book. And they'll have some kind of short series or ongoing series, and they'll just keep testing it until they figure out the best way to take that character. And that's exactly what happened with Rocket Raccoon, because the next time he makes an appearance is in 1982, May of 1982. In our second book, we're going to talk about the Incredible Hulk number 271. And in this book, this is where we find out what Rocky Raccoon's real name is, which we already know is Rocket, and it was all his friends just called him Rocky for short. This is considered the first comic book appearance of Rocket Raccoon. So there's a difference between the magazines and the comics at the time, and a big difference in timeline here. Almost looks like 12 years or so, and where it's his overall second appearance, it's still considered his first appearance because it's in comic book form. And they did something similar with like the Riddler in the Batman books, where when you get it graded, you could have his first Golden Age appearance or his first Silver Age appearance. And there's a lot of characters where they do that, and how they differentiate between the timelines and when these books came out. So after he appears in The Incredible Hulk, he gets a 4-issue miniseries, and you really don't see too much of him again until Annihilation Conquest, where he starts taking the form as Rocket Raccoon still, but also as a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And we're not talking about the original Guardians like Vance Astro. We're talking about what they consider the new Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, Gamora. You'll get Warlock in there. You'll get Quasar in there, and this is where he makes his next appearance. And then after that, they decided to keep him with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Brian Michael Bendis took over a book, and he started writing the Guardians books. And then ever since then, we have the Rocket that we know today. Our next book we're going to talk about is Iron Man number 1, and that came out in May of 1968. This book is the first ongoing title with just his name on it. So previously, he's come out in Tales of Suspense number 39. That's his first appearance. And over time, he has his own storyline within Tales of Suspense. And then Captain America ends up getting thrown into the mix as well when they acquire his title. And basically there was an Iron Man story, and then there was a Captain America story, and they would kind of alternate, and every now and there'd be a crossover. This book also continues from Ironman and Submariner #1. And again, just another instance where they take characters, they put them in other books, and start developing the character better so that they can eventually make its own #1 book. And depending on what your budget is, this is a really good option for you to acquire one of Iron Man's first books, if you will. Obviously, it's not Tales of Suspense 39, which would be the Grail book to get for him. But if this is an option for you, it's almost as good as having the first appearance because it's where he first appears in his own title. This first Iron Man series goes for 336 issues, and that stretches all the way into the mid 90s before they start making another volume, the volume 2 Iron Man series, and it also has 15 annuals that are with that series. So lots of books in that series, and part of my goal with collecting comics was to finish that entire series, and I'm proud to say I'm almost done. I only have about 75 more books to go to finish this run, and when I finish it, it's going to be great. I'm going to be really happy about it. Our next book we're going to talk about is another Iron Man book, Iron Man #55, and that came out in February of 1973. And this book is my Grail book, and that's because it is the first appearance of Thanos. But it's not just the first appearance of Thanos, it's the first appearance of Drax the Destroyer, the Mentor, Star Fox, which is Thanos' brother, Kronos, who is a Eternal, and the Blood Brothers. So Drax makes his first appearance in this book, and he's actually captured, and he telepathically talks to Tony Stark. And I won't go too much into the details to spoil the book, but then you get the Mentor, who is the leader of Titan at the time, and also Thanos and Star Fox's father. And he'll be in there talking about how Titan is as a planet and the relationship between Thanos and his father. Kronos is also on Titan at the time. He's an Eternal, and he's actually the leader of the Eternals on Earth. And then you have the Blood Brothers, which were just basically this duo of ape-like men who would attack Iron Man in this story. But if you could ever get your hands on this book, and it's in a price that that's affordable for you, I would definitely pick it up because of the MCU and the Marvel movies and things like that. It's really driven the price up. Mine's graded at a 5.5, and you still got to fork out a nice penny for that. But any higher than that, you start getting into the thousands of dollars for this book, just because of the lineup of first appearances, but mainly also because of Thanos. And almost everybody who follows the Marvel movies, comics in any form, knows who Thanos is, one of the biggest characters in Marvel Comics. Jim Starlin is the person who created Thanos. He gets the credit for it, but over time there have been other authors and artists who have drawn him, wrote about him, and created some really good stories with him. He tends to be a villain of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but you also will see him fighting against the Avengers in multiple books. He really starts taking a forefront, though, in Marvel with his book Thanos Quest, and basically it's just Thanos' quest into finding all of the Infinity Stones for the first time, or what they'll call in comics the Infinity Gems. This is important because it leads us into the Infinity Gauntlet book, and this is really where Thanos breaks out and becomes the murderous villain that we know him to be now. And again, over time, they'll use him in Guardians of the Galaxy. They'll throw him in Avengers books. He's made appearances in free comic book day books and numerous event books in the Marvel Universe. Our last book we're going to talk about is Iron Man number 128. And that book came out in November of 1979. And the reason why this book is important to me is because it's the only book that I have that is signed by Stan Lee. And I didn't personally get it signed from him. I actually bought this book off of eBay, and it was my only chance of really having a great book with his signature on it. I got this book a while before he passed away, probably about 4 or 5 years before he passed away. And basically this book is the end of Tony Stark's alcoholism storyline, where he's just a beaten down man who's a drunk, and you start getting other characters who will take the reins as Iron Man. If you've read the Iron Man series, you know who I'm talking about. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't read it. And that's the books I've pulled for us today. It's taken a long time to get this collection to where it is. I'm very proud of it. These are not my only first appearances. Over time, we'll talk about more books and more of the important books that I do have. And we'll go through some more CGC books and some more key books, but these are my Grail books. These are the books that really make my collection worth having for me. And yeah, so that's my collection that I have on display. Okay, so now we're going to play a game called Name That Comic. Every episode, I'm going to put a picture of a comic book on the screen. You're not going to be able to see the whole comic, though. You're only going to see a portion of it, and it's your job to figure out what it is. And if you think you can get it correct, well, then put your answer down in the comments below. So I want to see if you can name this comic right here. If you think you could answer it, awesome. Put your answer down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Collecting Comics, and we'll see you next time.